The night they threw me out. I was holding my newborn in my arms. It was raining. Cold. Dark. And I had nowhere to go. I still remember the door closing behind me. Loud. Final. Like I was never meant to come back. You are not welcome here anymore. My father-in-law said. No hesitation. No regret. Just certainty. I looked at my husband, hoping just once he would say something. Anything. But he didn't. He just stood there, silent, watching me leave. Like I didn't matter. Like we didn't matter. My baby started crying. Soft at first, then louder. And that sound broke something inside me. Please, I said. I have nowhere to go. But my mother-in-law stepped forward. You should have thought about that earlier, she said coldly. Earlier? I didn't even understand what I had done wrong. And that was the worst part. I wasn't just being thrown out. I was being erased. With a newborn in my arms. With no explanation. No support. No chance. But as I stood there, in the rain, holding the only thing that mattered to me, I made a promise. One day, I would come back. When I did, I wouldn't come back empty-handed. I would come back with the truth. That night, I didn't go far. I couldn't. I have a newborn in my arms, and nowhere to go. So I sat under a small shelter near the road. Cold. Tired. Trying to keep my baby warm with nothing but my own arms. Every passing car felt louder than usual. Every minute, heavier. I looked down at him. So small. So helpless. And for the first time, I felt fear. Not for me. For him. How am I going to do this? I whispered. But there was no answer. No one came. No one stopped. Because sometimes, when everything falls apart, you realize just how alone you really are. Hours passed. Slowly. Painfully. Until finally, morning came, and with it, a decision. I stood up, adjusted my hold on my baby, and took a step forward. Because I didn't have a choice. I couldn't go back. But I couldn't stay there either. So I walked, not knowing where I was going. Not knowing what would happen next. Just knowing one thing: I had to survive. For him, I walked for hours, until my legs couldn't carry me anymore. Every step felt heavier than the last, not because I was weak, but because I was carrying everything. Fear. Uncertainty. And a newborn who depended on me for everything. Finally, I reached a small clinic. Nothing special. Just a quiet place on the side of the road. But to me, it felt like hope. I stepped inside. Please, I said softly. I need help. The nurse looked at me, then at the baby. And something in her expression changed. Concern. Real concern. Sit down, she said quickly. She wrapped my baby in a warm blanket. Checked his temperature. Made sure he was okay. And for the first time since that night, I felt like we weren't invisible anymore. What happened to you? She asked gently. I hesitated, because I didn't even know where to begin. They threw me out, I said finally. She didn't ask more. She didn't judge. She just nodded. Like she understood something I couldn't explain. You can stay here for a while, she said. And just like that, in the middle of everything falling apart, someone chose to help. But what I didn't know then was that this small moment would become the beginning of something much bigger. I stayed at that clinic longer than I expected. Not because I wanted to, but because I had nowhere else to go. The nurse, her name was Sarah, didn't ask too many questions. She just helped. Quietly. Consistently. She made sure my baby was healthy. Made sure I ate. Rested. Breath. Things I hadn't realized I needed. Do you have anyone you can call? She asked one day. I shook my head, because the truth was, I didn't. The only people I had were the ones who threw me out. Sarah nodded slowly, then said something that stayed with me. Then we start from here. From here. It didn't sound like much. But in that moment, it meant everything. Days turned into weeks. And slowly, I started to rebuild. Not my old life, that was gone. Something new. Something stronger. Because when you lose everything, you don't go back. You move forward. And I did for him. But deep inside, one thought never left me. They ended my life in one night. One day, I would return. And I would end their lives. Starting over wasn't easy. There was no plan. No support system. Just me and my child. Sarah helped me find a small place to stay. Nothing fancy. Just a single room. But it was safe. And that was enough. I took whatever work I could find. And most importantly, what were they hiding? Because deep down, I knew something wasn't right. This wasn't just cruelty. This was something else. Something they didn't want me to know. And one day I was going to find out. Years passed. Slowly, but steadily. My son grew. Stronger. Smarter. Kinder than anyone I had ever known. And me. I became someone I didn't recognize anymore. Not weak. Not dependent. It wasn't just medical records. It was something else. Something important. Something they never wanted me to see. My heart started racing. Because suddenly, all those unanswered questions had answers. And for the first time in years, I understood why they threw me out. Why they stayed silent. Why they never came looking for me. They weren't protecting themselves from me. They were protecting something from being discovered. And now, I had proof. The cold looks. The silence. The urgency to push me out. They weren't rejecting me. They were removing me. Before I could find out the truth, I closed the file slowly. Took a deep breath. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel confused. I felt certain. They took everything from me. My home. My security. My place in that family. But now, I had something they didn't expect. Proof. And this time, I wasn't walking away. I was going back. But focused. Because surviving changes you. It forces you to see things differently. And one day, everything started to make sense. It began with a document. Something simple. Something small. I was sorting through old papers at the clinic. When I found it, a file. My name on it. Old. Forgotten. But still there. I opened it. Carefully. Curiously. And what I saw made my hands freeze. I sat there, staring at the file, reading it again and again, hoping I misunderstood, but I hadn't. Every page confirmed the same thing. Clear. Undeniable. The night they threw me out wasn't random. It wasn't anger. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It was planned. Carefully. Deliberately. Because the file revealed something shocking. A test. A result. A detail they never wanted me to see. My hands tightened around the paper. Because suddenly, everything made sense. Long hours. Low pay. But I didn't complain. Because every step forward meant a better life for him. At night, when everything was quiet, I would look at him sleeping. Peaceful. Unaware of everything we had gone through. And I would remind myself this is why I keep going. But no matter how far I moved forward, the past didn't disappear. It stayed with me. In memories. In questions. In silence. Why did they throw me out? What had I done? Going back wasn't easy. Not after everything. Not after years, but this time, I wasn't the same person. I wasn't scared. I wasn't broken. I was prepared. I stood outside that same house, the one that once shut its doors on me. Nothing had changed. Same walls. Same gate. But everything inside me had. I knocked. Slowly. Firmly. The door opened. And there she was. My mother-in-law. For a moment, she didn't recognize me. Then, her expression changed. Shock. Dumb fear. Because she saw what I was holding. The file. You shouldn't be here, she said quickly. But I didn't move. I think I should, I replied calmly. Because this time, I wasn't asking to come back. I was bringing the truth with me. Going back wasn't easy. Not after everything. Not after years. But this time, I wasn't the same person. I wasn't scared. I wasn't broken. I was prepared. I stood outside that same house, the one that once shut its doors on me. Nothing had changed. Same walls. Same gate. But everything inside me had. I knocked. Slowly. Firmly. The door opened. And there she was. My mother-in-law. They were all there. My father-in-law. My husband. Sitting exactly where they were years ago. Like nothing had ever happened. But the moment they saw me, everything changed. You left, my husband said. I almost smiled. No, I replied. You made me leave. Silence filled the room. Heavy. Unavoidable. Then I placed the file on the table. Slowly. Deliberately. You should read this, I said. No one moved at first. But then my father-in-law reached for it. His hands weren't steady. He opened it. Read the first page. Then the second. And just like that, his face lost all color. Because now, they weren't hiding the truth anymore. They were facing it. What is this? My husband asked. His voice wasn't confident anymore. It was uncertain. I looked at him directly. It's the truth, I said. He grabbed the file. Read it quickly. Then stopped. Right at the part they had been hiding. This isn't possible, he whispered. But it was. Every word. Every result. Every detail. It was all there. The test. The timeline. The truth about my child. And suddenly, everything shifted. Because the reason they threw me out was no longer valid. It never was. And now, they couldn't deny it anymore. No, my mother-in-law said quietly. But this time, her voice had no power. No control. Just fear. You made a mistake, I said calmly. Not loudly. Not angrily. Just truthfully. You threw me out based on a lie. No one argued. Because they couldn't. You took years from us, I continued. My child grew up without a family. Because of you. My son stood beside me. Silent. Watching. Understanding. And for the first time, they looked at him differently. Not with doubt, but with realization. Because now they knew who he was and what they had done. I picked up the file again. Held it firmly. Then turned toward the door. You don't get to fix this, I said quietly. No anger. Just clarity. Some things don't get second chances. I didn't wait for a response. Didn't look back. Because this time, I wasn't there to stay. I was there to end something. As we stepped outside, I held my son's hand. Tighter. Stronger. Not because I was afraid, but because I was free. They once threw me out with nothing. No support. No truth. No dignity. But years later, I came back with something they couldn't fight. Proof. And sometimes, that's all it takes. To change everything. Truth.